Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today it's all about checkerboard cookies. We're going to be making beautiful checkerboard cookies and not just the usual checkerboard cookies that you might see, chocolate and vanilla. We're going to kick it up a little bit and do different colors. Today we're going to do blue and yellow. And these are made out of the most incredible melt in your mouth shortbread that you have ever had. And it's simple. Totally simple. It takes 2 seconds to bring the dough together, but then there is a lot of chilling time in between. So be patient because you're going to get fabulous cookies. Now, although this is a small batch recipe, you can always double it. Remember that. So in an electric mixing bowl, I'm going to take 12 tablespoons or 1½ sticks of unsalted butter, and it's been softened, and 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. I'm going to get that in there. Paddle attachment, and because this is a shortbread and we are making a cookie that is going to have a specific shape to it, we don't want it to change and rise and do all weird things. We're not going to cream like we usually do. You know how I talk about creaming, where the sugar grinds against the softened butter and lightens it and whitens it? Here we're just actually going to mix it until it's well blended. All right. So we're going to mix our sugar into our butter until all the sugar's incorporated. And then I have an egg yolk, 1 egg, yolk and white separate. I'm going to only use the yolk because it's a rich shortbread, and we're going to save the white when we put our layers together. And I'll show you how to form the checkerboards. It's really, really easy. So now that we have our dough, our sugar and our butter together, I'm going to add my yolk, just the yolk, remember, save that white. So I'm going to add my yolk and a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Make sure it's the pure stuff and not the artificial. All right, once that combines, I'm going to slowly add 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. And you don't have to go super slow, but you do want to make sure it gets in the bowl. As you know, sometimes mine doesn't always all make it into the bowl. So you just get that in there. It's going to make a soft dough. Don't expect it to be ready to roll out right away. It's a very, very soft, delicate dough. That's what makes it so scrumptious, because it's really light, but it's got a little butter in there. It's got no chemical leaveners, if you've noticed. So we don't want it to rise. We are not trying to get this dough to rise. We're trying to get it to stay in shape and maintain its shape and structure. All right, so I'm going to scrape off my paddle. And then we're going to put it in here. I'm going to actually put this on one last time. I want it to be mixed a little bit more. You know what? That's what it's like being a perfectionist. You got to have it all right. So I'm putting that in there. My butter wasn't totally broken down as I wanted it, and incorporating the flour. All right. So what you're going to see is little like crumbles. It almost looks like you're making a streusel topping, but it's all going to come together. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to use my next favorite tool. I don't know if you can guess what that is. That's my hands. I'm actually going to use my hands to bring this dough together because I want it smooth and I want it homogeneously blended with everything. So you know what I'm going to do? Just so you can see for your viewing pleasure, I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to mix it in and just pour it into this bowl. And you can see it looks like crumbs. And very often that's what your pie crust looks like when you pour it out of your electric mixer, or if you do it in a food processor, it will look like this as well. And then you take your hands to gather it all together. I don't want to overmix because remember that G word, gluten. We don't want to get tough cookies. All right. So there we go. So I'm going to take this on here and I'm actually going to just mix it up. Sometimes you will need a few teaspoons of water. You can always use cream, whatever you'd like to do. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Today I might need, sometimes the yolk, if you get a large egg, sometimes the yolk may be a little bit smaller. But I don't want too wet a dough because it will not firm up. See how it's gathering together into a, crumbling it up. And then what I'm going to do, it's coming together. Give yourself time. All right, I'm just going to gather this together and then I'm going to divide it. Each half, I'm going to actually divide it in half and then I'm going to color each half. So today I decided, like I told you before, blue and yellow are my colors. But if you want to make pink and just leave the other half, white, that's fine. Or vanilla, that's fine. It's up to you. See, I'm trying desperately. Sometimes you will need to add a little bit of cream or milk or water to this, but I try not to if I can help it. I'm just going to take my dough and just cut it in half, just eyeball it. Put half in the bowl, and in another bowl, I'm going to start coloring it, all right? So I have my colors. I'm going to take a little bit of blue. I'm going to rinse off my fingers real fast. And then I'd like to knead it in with my hands. And you might say, hey, I don't want to get my hands that dirty. Use gloves if you want to, that's up to you. I don't mind getting my hands a little bit of color. They're not going to be that smurfy looking, they won't be that blue. But you do need to get your hands in the dough because you really want it thoroughly mixed in. So I'm going to use a little, more like a royal blue color. All right. And I'm going to add a good amount because I really do want it to be nice and blue. All right. And what I'm going to do, I don't want to put it in that bowl because that's from my yellow. So I'm just going to take my hands and engulf it together. Put it together so that the blue dye is not actually, the gel food coloring is not actually directly on you. It's actually going into the dough. And then just knead it. Knead it in. And you're going to do the same thing with the other half until it's completely, thoroughly blended in, and it will be. And then you're going to take it and form it into a 5.5 inch wide square. Flatten it out. Try not to add any flour if you can help it. And then wrap your yellow and your blue into your plastic wrap. And you're going to chill them until they get sort of firm, about a couple hours. All right. As you can see, I've split my dough up like you saw me do before. I was kneading the color in and nothing got on my hands. So I did blue and I did yellow. And then I put them into 5.5 inch squares, about 1/4 inch thick, okay? Wrap them in plastic wrap. And they were very soft when I did this. I had to put them on a sheet pan, and then one next to the other, I put them into the refrigerator until they got nice and firm. Remember, that butter's going to firm up again. So now they're firm. They're not hard as a rock, but they're firm. Now, this is a very tricky business when you make refrigerator cookies, especially something as particular as checkerboards, okay? It's sort of, you need a little finesse. And sometimes, sometimes it's tricky. So I'm going to unwrap one. We may have some flour on here that we may have to brush off, so you want to have a pastry brush handy. I have my egg white, and I have another pastry brush for that egg white. And what I'm going to do, I want to make sure everything stays flat. Be careful. You can see this is firm. As we talk, as you and I talk, this is going to get softer. So we don't want it too soft. If at any point, this is sort of like a Cinderella moment, if at any point it gets to the point where it's too soft, sort of like Cinderella felt a little weird near midnight, you pop it right back in the fridge, all right? So I'm keeping it on plastic wrap in case I have to move it, all right? It's a little firm. Now I'm going to take my egg wash. There is no flour on it. Do I have any flour on this side? Not really. Not really. It's fine. Actually, I'm going to put this side up. It's a little bit, got a little, like a few cracks and stuff. So just the imperfect side will be up. And I'm going to take my egg white and I'm just going to paint a little layer of egg white all over, right up to the edges, because we need cement, we need glue so that they will adhere to each other, all right, both our colors. Now we're going to take our yellow and we're going to unwrap it, and I'm unwrapping it very carefully. Again, I don't want this to get soft, and your hands, remember your hands are 98.6, right? So if you have hot little hands like mine, you want to make sure that you are very careful. So, you see that? Has a little flour on it. My trusty pastry brush. I'm going to get rid of it as much as I can. Don't dig into the dough. All right? I'm going to flip it over. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay? And now there may be a little air around it. So I'm going to take a flat surface, could be a cookie sheet, whatever, and I'm just going to push down gently, but push to adhere. This is what's going to give you the sharp edges in your checkerboard. All right? All right. Now, if it's firm enough now, you can start slicing. If it's not firm and you're getting soft and squishy, you're going to rewrap in this gently. You're going to get some sort of maybe the bottom of a springform pan or something like this, and you're just going to shush this under it, put it on a sheet pan, throw it in the fridge. Mine's pretty firm. So I'm going to see if we can start slicing. Now again, if you want the more checkerboards, so you can build checkerboards, you can have a 2x2 square. You can have three, like 9 set of 3, 3, and 3. You can do anything you want. I want to make mine a little smaller because of a project that I have in mind that you will see soon. So I'm going to take my edges and I'm going to take a very sharp knife, all right, like a chef's knife or a boning knife. Make sure that you sharpen it before you use it. And you see how I'm just going down, you see that? Okay, you see that there's my stripes. Now that we're not going to use. And you're going to make sure that this stays clean, all right? So if I see anything like that, I'm going to clean it off. I'm going to do another. I'm going to show you what it looks like. See that? That's the beginning of your stripes. You're going to cut 1/4 inch thick strips. Cut them smaller, cut them bigger, depending on the size cookie you want. All right? These are great freezer cookies as well. Now I'm just going to get this on the side. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to use this to brush off any excess dough that I don't want blue in the yellow, and I don't want yellow in the blue. All right? Now, what I'm going to do is keep going. When I have a few, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. This is a smaller batch than what I normally make, but I wanted it to be manageable for you because they make about 45 to 50 cookies. So about 3.5 dozen, give or take. And you're just going to keep going. I see a little bit of dough on there. And you can eyeball. It doesn't have to be perfectly 1/4 inch, but you want to make sure they're close. Now at this point, I'm going to take more of my egg white on my brush, just a little dab. And I'm going to just egg wash that. And then I'm going to take this strip. If you notice, it's firm enough so I don't have to go back in the fridge. And you're going to flip it over. You're going to do the old flipperoo because we want blue on top of the yellow and yellow on top of the blue. And don't worry if they're not perfect. Don't worry, because once you chill them, you're going to slice them. So watch. I'm just going to do this for you. I'm going to cut my ends off so you can see what this will look like, because the end is always a little crazy. Isn't that pretty? So you got yourself a little tiny cookie that's like a 2 by 2. Now if we want to go more, let me show you what I'm going to do. Let's say I want to go more and I want a bigger cookie. I'm going to take egg wash. You always want to take some of that egg wash. All right. And remember what I'm going to do, the flipperoo. All right, go on top. All right, and then I'm going to do another cut. These are so much fun to do, and because you can do them ahead, you can actually freeze them in strips like this and make them. It's like, oh, today I'm having the girls over for tea. So you would like to make some, checkerboard cookies, but you happen to have this dough already made in the freezer. All you have to do is leave it out a little bit to get it get a little softer, and you got yourself some pretty cookies, and won't you be the envy of your friends? Now, if you see that they're not totally aligned, take your straight edge and just sort of go down gently. You don't want to push too hard at this point, all right? But you want to push to make sure that they are adhered. And then I will show you, we're going to see this when we bake them, but you don't cut. The ends are always going to be a little rough. Don't worry about it. But watch what happens when you do this. Oh, I love it. And I love looking each and every time I do it. I just stare at them because they're so amazing. Okay, I think they're amazing. So here you have your 2 by 2. Here you have 3 by 3. All right, great way to learn geometry. So what you want to do is take these strips. You can individually wrap them. So I'm going to continue doing this. But you can individually wrap them in plastic wrap, date them, label them, and freeze them on a flat surface so they don't bend, or chill them for a little while because they're not quite ready to bake, and then bake them at 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm just going to chill these, and then we're going to bake them. All right, as you can see, I chilled my stacks of dough, my gorgeous checkerboard cookies. I love them. And at this point, like I said, they could be in the freezer. I'm going to bake some off now so you can see what they look like. 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I've preheated my oven. They only bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. And I'm going to cut, again, 1/4 inch thick slices. Remember that the ends will not be perfect, so don't worry about it. And you're going to get the little pieces of dough off each slice, about 1/4 inch thick. And then you're going to put them down on a sheet pan that's been lined with parchment paper. They look so gorgeous. Oh my goodness, we could play chess. We could play chess, cookie chess. And then you get to eat it, right? Oh, that would be great. 1/4 inch, you can even make them a little bit thicker if you want, or thinner, depending on how thick you like your cookies. But they're just so stunning. These are things that are really not hard to make, but I'm making them in an amount that you can sort of handle. I don't like making these in huge amounts. And then you can put them in your freezer. Make them once, have fun, and then put them in your freezer. And then have them another time. Now I'm going to do some of my foursomes, my little baby ones, because I'm going to have a little project that I want to put these with. So you just keep making slices, putting them on, and bake them off for about 10 to 12 minutes. They should not color. They're shortbread, so they should just get slightly puffy and be a little firm, and then they're done. So my checkerboard shortbread cookies just came out of the oven, and they're gorgeous. And look, I even made them in different colors. You can make them in any color you want. You can even leave half the dough, just plain and simple, so you have really a contrast. And you know what? I suddenly have an urge to play checkers or chess, maybe both. I hope you become a subscriber, and I hope you try these because they're outrageous. Melt in your mouth shortbread cookies. Until next time.